do this. Okay. I think I should this. Okay. Now what? Go to shorts. Where is short? No shorts. Content. Okay, I think there's real deal. Although this is not Uma Musume. Fuck, I should have changed the title. Maybe it's not too late. I can do this. Oh, no. Why? Me? Yeah. You fucking piece of shit. Freaking man. The okay, hello guys. I have no idea what's going on. We guys are here and yeah, welcome. Let's see. Okay. Gonna open it now. Nice. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Huh. Oh my goodness. Not so bad. And also, oh, like hello. Okay. I played the Grand Life. I think in my experience it's like I just continue my Uma Musume scenarios, but difference is you don't just continue, you you purchase items at the live shop, the concert shop, and then you get points from training and all. So so with enough points, you can increase enough hype and great hype and all um until the very end. I guess that's about it. So right now, so there were like some Easter eggs where if you collect 18 songs, you will get the full version of Girls Legend News. So kinda. Now let's see. The islands of stability. Let's see. Manage try to fake an element. Maybe something. Not into Zuna. Let's see. Okay, let's see.
Maruzensky-san.
Hi, Tazuna-san, over here.
The last train comes around at this time. It's been tough, hasn't it?
Bingo, that's right.
Oh my.
Well, I want to know why Megumi is a bomb. Why? Because even though I've watched videos about it, I'm like, are they just making fun of Megumi being a bomb, or is there a reason? Well, to be honest, I'm not too into shonen because I can see that it is written in the formula this at some point, so because it's shonen. So. What to do? Let's see. Okay, let's see game over stuff.
Her guilt needs more purpose.
I heard about game overs, but even though I did watch this video before, but over time I forgot about it. Maybe I just didn't mind. Anyway, let's see.
So, I've always really loved animation, but not just anime, but pretty much anything in the family to adult programming range. Adult Swim and Comedy Central cartoons were really formative for me growing up, but so were internet animations. Now, I've never been addicted to crack, but I imagine it's pretty similar to what discovering Newgrounds at 10 years old felt like. I must have ended up watching every single Mario and Sonic sprite parody animation on the entire fucking site.
The dog lead something? Yeah, I remember watching the dog lead. It was so on the nose, but it was fun.
I liked more than parodies though was original content. I remember my cousin showing me Tankman right as episode 2 came out and fucking
the guys that I recently found them from the Friday Night Funkin' mod where the song's called Ugh, and then this guy will be like Ugh.
2007, and then the same day we discovered Madness Combat and immediately watched every single episode that was out at the time, thinking it was the coolest thing we've ever fucking seen. I was also a big fan of a lot of the classics like Pico's School.
Before they continue, and I have no idea what is going on. Man, I don't know.
Which was a flash game that took place.
I didn't know this is Pico's school. Pico looked like that before he was stylized in FNF. He looks quite as appealing as boyfriend, to be honest.
during a school shooting, Salad Fingers, who I still see around, but I don't think people know that this character is over 20 years old at this point. Then there was Jerry, Charlie the Unicorn, Pleasure Island, and you're probably wondering
not
right
see this
now what
before.
my point is, because this video is supposed to be about Gamerverse, but we're over a minute in now and I still haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah, 111.
Well, I just wanted to reminisce and mourn over the fact that internet animations don't feel much like internet animations anymore. All of the biggest and most successful examples are all about being something that could quote-unquote be on TV by never pushing the envelope the way the medium used to and being as safe as possible in order to please our corporate overlords. Gone are the days of shows like Big Les, which was made in MS Paint and about two Australians who hate each other so much that they regularly shit in each other's mailbox while Yetis do drugs in the background. Things have changed, and I kind of fucking hate it. But obviously I don't hate TV, as I've noted earlier, and will continue to prove throughout this video. But I just don't think internet animation is well served conforming to the standards that TV and streaming services want, because it can be so much more unique than that, and has more strengths to play to if left unhindered.
The blonde jackass versus the ugly bastard.
What happens though when a show tries for years to be on TV first and after so many rejections decides to just settle for YouTube after all? Well, you get Gamerverse, and trust me when I say that by the end of this video, you will understand why it was turned down so many times. And it's not because
I watched Gamerverse, the pilot. I do have... yeah. I can't remember. Well, I mean, long time ago, but I remember watching the pilot. I can already see why it's I don't know, it doesn't seem right. When you complete the game, the game world gets destroyed. I still don't understand why that's the case, but apparently it's supposed to be like a glitch where if you complete the game, it will delete the world. Like, what is the what glitch causes that? What causes the game world to be deleted? How valuable are those game worlds to the heroes and villains? And and who are the masters of the opposing factions? And why do the syntax need the data from the deleted world? Why do the hero fetching led by the villain want to stop the game world? Like, it's a, I don't know, maybe it's time to not spoil it. Anyway, again,
it was too hot for TV like old Newgrounds animations were. It's not the worst internet cartoon I've ever seen. That'd probably go to catching up, but it is the blandest, safest, and pisses me off the most on a personal level. And why is that? Well, Rubber Ross actually posted a big list.
I don't know, I can't remember watching Reboot, but it was a good story. Not recently, I've watched the first episode, and then Gurren Lagan's cool, very cool, over the top. Not sure about I can't remember. I can't remember watching Star Trek. Maybe I remember mainly because of 500 cigarettes. 500 cigarettes, yeah. And One Piece. Wait. For me, I don't like too much influences. There's no, I don't know. For me, I think a maximum of uh a maximum of 3 influences will be enough, because the influences are the influences, they are not the only things inspiring the show. For me, sometimes sometimes memes can sometimes I don't know if memes can do that, but there is I think regarding inspirations, I think for me the for me the maximum can be a 3 or 4. So for me, so that I don't have to juggle too many times one reference from. I mean, that's just me.
Of his influences for it on Twitter, which contains some really great shows.
8, 8. That's a lot. And penny stocking, and reboot in one inspiration. Kind of sound like what I experienced from Mason Digital Circus. Sometimes funny, sometimes serious. I don't know. I heard that sometimes they know the tone of the series. Someone said, I can't remember the username, but someone said you need to stick to one theme, and the tone of the show. All I can say, it's it's not very good to juggle, to be honest. In my opinion, sometimes you can have comedy, but set the main tone of the series be either be comedic or serious. So yeah, main theme, the side theme. If you the side plot, if you want it to be comedic, then fine. I mean, not too comedic. Don't ruin the some say don't ruin the atmosphere of the show. I mean, yeah.
Posted a big list of his influences for it on Twitter, which contains some really great shows like
Very great shows.
Reboot, Panty and Stocking, Dragon
Not sure about Reboot and Penny Stocking. Well, anyway.
Ball Z, One Piece, and my
I used to list lots of inspirations, like 8, 9, 10, 10 of the series that I was inspired to make a story. I remember one advice saying that if those are the only reasons why you make the series, then it's not a good series, because making a series solely on for me making a series solely on the inspirations and if you want to make a series, your original series, you shouldn't just rely on the inspirations. Sometimes of course inspirations are good. It's just that what kind of story are you telling, and what do you want to tell from that? It's still it's not very good to just rely on inspiration. So
favorite show of all time, Gurren Lagann. And listen, I wasn't even going to talk about this shit after watching it because I thought it really wasn't even notable or worth my scorn. I'm not even sure I would have even called it straight up bad before, since it was so inoffensive, but name Gurren Lagann as an influence for this fucking dreck? Nah, dude, now I'm pissed. Now I have to take a massive shit all over your hard work. This bland, boring show made for fucking
poo-poo. Anyway, in my opinion, could have been good. I think, for me, there are jokes around, and I couldn't stand the voice direction for Gobbles and Flappers. They sound a little too cartoony for supposedly. The Game Overs looks very serious. Yeah, they look very serious for supposedly, uh, for a game, like a. I don't know. Is it serious? Is it supposed to be serious? Is it supposed to be funny? Because there are jokes somewhere. I don't know.
Teeny Boppers is officially on my shit list, and I have to talk about it now because how you took all of those great shows and somehow turned them into this is truly mind boggling in the worst possible way. Like,
And the thing is, Komodo shouldn't have trained the villain. Villain lived there. He should. I mean, the villain. He lived in that game planet. He knows where on earth the protagonist attack patterns. Why does the villain need to be trained by Kabuto the outsider? I don't understand.
when I saw Gurren Lagann on his influences list, I had a Doug Walker back credit card moment. So anyway, let's get one thing out of the way here. I don't really engage with things that I don't think I'm going to enjoy. It's just not really something that I do. One time I thought I was having a heart attack from being a fat fuck, and all I could think was, I can't believe the last game I'm ever going to fucking play is Final Fantasy 15. After that,
Ugh. So many Final Fantasies. So I guess this is why he's called the Chocobo guy. I don't know.
vowed to avoid shitty media at all costs because you never really know when you're gonna drop dead from something really fucking stupid like being fat or choking on a meatball. I'm trying my best to cherish every moment.
Choking on a meatball. Well, I don't know. Let's see.
Here. So then why the fuck did I watch Gameverse? Well, I actually thought the trailer had a lot of potential. It wasn't amazing or anything, but I think it did the bit where you take something really cutesy and childish and make it dark pretty well. Like, this game world looks like it could be a real Windows 98 educational game for kids, just for the characters in said game to be cut in half as the world falls apart once they win. That's another thing actually. What's happening here?
I don't know. There are a little too many that them portray kids media, but it's dark. Like stories about kids media, but it's actually dark. I've seen a little too many. I've seen a little too many to be honest. I don't know. I mean, hmm. What can I say? Mm. Bendy and Ink Machine. Um, one example, Bendy Ink Machine. It's not a bad example. Just an example. Bendy Ink Machine. It's already grim, and it's not just about the kids' media. Well, Bendy is a cartoon character. He doesn't just cater to kids. He also caters to like general audiences in general. I mean, he's the dancing demon, and apparently, spoilers alert. The owner of the studios behind Bendy cartoons went insane, and m- uh something. He went insane and made a bit. Tried to bring Bendy into the real life. Yeah, he decided to make a ritual to bring Bendy alive, along with his friends, Boris and Alice Angel. Oof. It is not too kid. I don't think it's too kid friendly. It's dark throughout because the focus is about the insanity of the man who made all the problems, Joey Drew, and Henry Stein had to endure his craziness. Yeah. Bendy Ink Machine, at least I know that it is dark, and it's not too not too family friendly because it is meant to be a little bit graphic. So, and even Bendy and the Dark Revival also made it better. To be honest, Dark Revival is very good, way better than first game. Uh, Yeah, and then Cuphead. Cuphead is not. It is not trying to be edgy. It's already edgy, but it is cartoonishly edgy because of the devil and uh, Cuphead and his brother Mugman. The story is not about being edgy. The story is about not dealing with the devil. They dealt with the devil and they had to save the world by defeating the devil. That is the simple, very simple premise of Cuphead. Yeah, that's why like the bad examples like Hello, some of the bad examples on YouTube like Hello Neighbor, Gone Ban Ban, and sadly, I don't know what happened, but Poppy Playtime ended up being a bad light because I don't know, man. Um, people say it's Five Nights at Freddy's effect, but um, I don't know, man. I I I don't want to say bad examples because the videos always say that they like cash grabbing, like money grabbing or theory bait. Yeah, one thing that I the one thing I'm adamant about is that DDA, the digital circus, the amazing digital circus. I don't know, man. It I I should hold back for now about the ending and the whole series as a whole. I I'm disappointed. I don't know, man. It could have been more. It could have just not just focused on the purple rabbit. It shouldn't just focus on the purple rabbit. The what happened to the assemble cast system? Why is it only one or two characters now? What happened to Regatha? What happened to the rest of characters? Why is it resolved off screen? Why are most of the things off screen? I know, man. I feel a little fatigued by the theory bait. To be honest, I'm sorry.
and what the show is about is communicated to you extremely well in a very short amount of time. In this universe, when a protagonist wins their respective game, their world ends. This isn't a thing that's directly told to you, you can just very easily deduce it from what is shown to you on screen and the context. I don't think the concept of show don't tell is the best way to go about things in every scenario, but the trailer of Gamerverse utilizes it very well. That's kind of the problem though, isn't it? This is just the trailer. You put probably the best part of the series thus far in here, and now that episode 1 is out, people might not even watch it, because the beginning of this trailer is seemingly canon, but it's not in the show, it's only in the trailer. Episode 1
Yeah.
actually took this into account though, by basically showing the exact same thing happening to the main character.
I feel like the wait that ends with anyway, the reason why I don't know, man. The pilot seems like a separate episode because I know it's a pilot, but it sounds like it should be the one of should be episode 1 because of Gobble's because that is Gobble's episode. That is that is Gobble's episode. That is Gobble's episode. But they decided to make it a pilot, which not everybody will watch it. Not everyone will watch the pilot. And then you put episode 1, which is not only kids but also flappers. I think episode 1 should be Gobbles because that's the first time we met Gobbles and Kid and the cast. I think that this episode 1 should have been episode 2. That's just in my opinion. Because that point we already know what Gobbles who these characters are, so
Is seemingly canon, but it's not in the show, it's only in the trailer. Episode 1 actually took
kinda shame. Maybe the trailer should have montages of the episode before the episode came out so that we know a bit without spoilers about Game Over show.
This into account though by basically showing the exact same thing happening to the main character Kit and her world, except this time it sucks ass. You get about 20 seconds of Kit's village and some of the people there with like 3 lines of generic dialogue where she talks about keeping their home safe. She doesn't interact with any of these characters.
We don't. The sad thing is, these people look appealing. The chef cat, the chef cat looks very berry, and this, yeah, that's the thing. Sure, the runtime might come on, but at least there you can have time to like talk to the girl, and also
And any blog where
talk
she
to
talks
a
about keeping
friend,
their home safe.
because all I know is the interaction with Caboodle, and she seems very important. It will be fine to have this girl and kid have kid and this girl talk a bit, at least just a bit, and so we can know why this everyone and her people are important.
She doesn't interact with any of these characters in any meaningful way, and you don't really know any of them or her relationship to them, other than I guess they're her friends and they want her to defend the village. You know, like the most bare-boned shit possible. Then it cuts to a fight scene, which I, as a shonen tard, was not personally impressed by. There's this transformation scene with a costume that looks like it didn't know if it wanted to go for a magical girl style or a mech style, which kind of dilutes the effects of both since they're like polar opposites and don't mix easily. I mean, the noble
Hmm.
Gundam from G Gundam exists, so it can be done and look cool, it just wasn't here. Kit then quickly
It will be
wins the battle
it will be like but to be honest, look at this.
to go for a magical girl style or a mech style, which kind of dilutes the effects of both since they're like polar opposites
From
and
the angle
don't
here,
mix.
it looks like it looks like wrapping the armor around the boobs and the waist. I mean, hmm, they wanted to go to the edgy route. I'm not very edgy, but still an edgy route. I can see that. Uh, Apparently there is sometimes like a boob angle, the top boob angle, and then clearly want to do the killer kill, to be honest. Killer kill. Oof, yeah, I don't know, man.
Easily. I mean, the Noble Gundam from G Gundam exists, so it can be done and look cool, it just wasn't here. Kit then quickly wins the battle with a lame super move. It flashes back to characters we don't know anything.
Maybe she could have punched. She could have punched. She could have just punched, like, serious punch. One Punch Man! Boom!
About, and the world starts to fall apart as Kit looks on in horror before being saved by vampire elf.
I don't know, man. Why can't she just fly and take one of her people? It is a friend. I don't know, man. I'm like, why just sit there? Why just sit there and save your friend?
Sephiroth, then cue the title drop. Yeah, so that was almost 3.5 minutes, mostly taken up by late Eben anime fight, when maybe you should have used that time to make us actually give a shit about Kit or this world getting destroyed. Compare that to Gobble's much shorter backstory in the trailer. There's not a ton of dialogue.
At least we know Gobbles in his the interaction with his pals. At least we see that. Even for a kids game show. I mean, for a kids game to convey the relationship of between characters better than kids, we're supposed to be like I mean, Gobble in the kids game conveying friendship better than Kit. Her game that is for younger older teens, for teens, for you know for older teens. I don't know. Mega Man's for teens and young adult. I don't know. Teen, young adult, young teen. Anyway, Marketo Mega Minot, I mean, kids game, Kid Bodega's game, cater to Mega Man audiences. Gobbles did it better than Kate. Now know what happened.
But there is dialogue, and they made it count since you can infer from it that Gobbles has known the other characters for a long time. Plus, these other characters get more screen time, so you can infer more about their personalities from just their character designs alone. Not to mention the way they talk and what they say. Bongo Raptor here has more personality than anyone shown thus far in episode 1, counting Kit herself, and I care more about him dying than anyone else up to this
The
point.
subtitles say kids with the D instead of T. Well,
because although it really isn't much at all, there's something there for your mind to attach to and remember. You knew this character and what they were like extremely briefly before seeing them die, and although you might not have strong emotions about it, you feel something. What's more, the trailer had a much more comedic tone. Gobbles watches multiple friends die just inches away from him in grueling ways, not being able to do a single thing about it before being forced to run away and leave everyone to their fate. This situation is much worse than what you just saw Kit go through, yet her backstory is given a much more serious tone, whereas Gobbles gets dark humor. How Kit's backstory is treated throughout the rest of the episode gives a lot of importance to it as a plot point, but it's just such a weak plot
I don't know why they do that, to be honest.
point, because there's just nothing interesting to it as a plot, including Kit herself. Like, am I supposed to care because she cares? Well, why should I care about her right now? She's just a random cat girl that hasn't done anything of note yet, and there's nothing here to connect me to her emotionally. You can't make people care about a blank slate solely because bad things happen to them. Gobbles is a Barney the Dinosaur ripoff from an educational children's game that goes on learning adventures with his fellow dinosaurs. Kit is like Mega Man, but like a cat girl Mega Man, and she goes to some tower to defend her village made up of other cat people, none of which really have any unique character traits besides some design quirks you get to look at for all of 5 seconds. They're just cat people. And listen, man, when I hear that a tragedy happens in real life, it doesn't matter all that much that I didn't know the people, because that's real, and you can relate to others you don't know on a human level, but this is fiction, so you're gonna have to try a little bit harder than that. Also, good animation cannot carry a fight scene all on its own unless you're Demon Slayer or solo leveling for some reason, so maybe give us a good reason to be invested in this fight.
But to be honest, I can give credit to Demon Slayer. Kimetsu no Yaiba at least has like, there are techniques that look similar. However, the not just the breathing, but the tone of a technique of the technique, the type of technique is different. Water is usually very calm and pristine and clean. Fire is usually very aggressive and scorching. Like, not literally scorching, but it feels scorching when you get cut by the blade. Love Raiden, I should quote Mitsuri. No, not quote. But Mitsuri's love breathing is more of like a uh more like lovey-dovey, and also involves lots of cats, so it feels like a cat scratching. Butterfly insect breathing, I think also known as a butterfly, because Shinobu uses butterfly technique, and the techniques are very butterfly like, and I can understand why I mean, she doesn't need to have a strong body just to slay demons, but but it doesn't seem like everyone has access to steroid poisoning. Not everybody can master with steroid poisoning like Shinobu does, or the likes of Shinobu. Anyway, Shinobu uses the poison like a poison butterfly does attack their predators. So yeah, and I forgot about Kanao, but Kanao, I don't know. I need to look back at Demon Slayer. I need to watch Demon Slayer again. It's been a long while, and and Inosuke, beast breeding, he attacks like a beast. That's all I can say. Zenitsu, he's lightning fast. It is so fast that you don't notice it until you're dead. So yeah.
Before you invest the money into making it look nice. Gurren Lagann started with a well-animated action hook to suck people in. It made you care of what was to come because the situation
Because Gurren Lagann is cool. Main thing they do. Cool as hell.
was inherently cool, and the dialogue was even cooler. It was a future flash instead of a flashback, and immediately had you thinking about how the show is going to end up at this point. Though in Gurren Lagann's case, the answer is it won't, because all that shit was made before they even started writing the show. None of it is even canon and just there to be cool, but that's besides the point. So anyway, let's not linger on these first 3 minutes too long. In the next scene, Kit wakes up after dreaming the last 3 minutes, and Caboodle asks her if she was having the same dream, implying that it's something that keeps happening. She then looks down at a screen, and next to it are
no, look at look at this. We could have a montage. At least in the flashback, we could have an animation where she and the friend mingled with this stuff, her family, and then I suppose this is her family. This one is like a human friend that she made. We could have a scene with this human friend. At least a scene with this human friend, like Jets and Rabbits moment. Yeah.
pictures of her dead friends, implying
As much as I don't like the TDAC ending or the last episode, after all, I can I can at least see Ribbit. I can at least see Ribbit and Kaufmo.
the great importance of a bunch of bullshit we'd be better off getting an entire episode about before this one instead of just a couple minutes. Kit and Caboodle then engage in some weak banter because Caboodle is supposed to be mean, but not too mean, because then the emotion
Yeah, I don't know, man. Boodle, he can have a bender, but not very demeaning, alright? Also, yeah, I I feel like a Boodle's a little too harsh. I don't know, man.
emotionally fragile audience won't like him.
And of course, Kid is very traumatized, but she could have. I mean, is trauma the only thing she has, or I can understand, like, oh no, I don't want it to happen again. At the same time, I learned not to just blindly trust the paper or panic when things go wrong, because I panicked before, and that's why my home is destroyed. So I must not panic too much. I need to lock in instead of just being scared all the time. No, that's my interpretation of Kid.
Since these are the same people who couldn't even handle Jax. Then that gobble up knowledge scene plays. Autistic people on Twitter loved Jax. Then that gobble up
Jax.
knowledge scene plays. Autistic people on Twitter loved this shit so much and were so absurdly cringe about it that I think it single-handedly got tens of thousands of people to hate an entire
Kind of feel like even though I'm autistic, I don't find this entertain. I don't find the scene where God was just dancing. I don't know, man. I'm not into this. I'm just not into. I'm just not into like streaming videos, like sensory videos. I'm not into that. I'm I'm not into anything too childish. Like, I don't understand why people still cling onto that. Anyway, I'm more into like I don't know, but I'm more into more young adult stuff. Not the books, because I think the books, I don't know, I don't like the books. I don't like the young adult books. And especially when it's not Japanese books. Not because I don't like non-Japanese. It's just no, man. Something about Japanese boats. For me, it's better than whatever's going on with some Western boats. I don't know, man. It's just one feeling.
Show they've only ever seen a minute of. The sad thing is, the joke here is how infantile it is, and that a dinosaur out of a learning
why? Wait.
game is even on this space adventure in the first place. But then a bunch of retarded found it and made it uwu autistic wholesome chungus. These are the people who will
I hate a word. I just hate it. Like, why?
scold you over media literacy for not agreeing with their personal interpretations, by the way. So Kit goes to talk to Gobbles and explain to him how the Gameaverse works. Like the audience is literally fucking retarded and can't pick up on what's happening despite seeing it.
So sad, man. Media literacy.
Possibly twice now. This is the part where you hear Gobbles talk, and although I didn't really have a problem with how he
doesn't have to be so childlike, but Gobbles and the kid could have just a normal conversation. Gobbles can ask what is going on, and kid can tell him in a way he can understand. They could have been like teammates, and he's a Learnosaurus. He can try he can try contributing to the group, alright?
he sounded in the trailer, maybe because of the audio filter. Here, he just sounds horrible. Like, I'm not even a big Aaron Hansen hater. I liked the Awesome series, and I'm not still mad he took a shit on Ocarina of Time 100 years ago, like a ton of people still are for some reason. This guy's animations were known for their wackiness and his extremely exaggerated, goofy yelling. Like, overacting is literally what he was known for the longest time, but the voice he's putting on here and how he's reading his lines just isn't doing it for me. The voice he's doing just sounds like he has a chip stuck in the back of his throat that he can't get out. He's just not good casting for something like this, and I really hope this show doesn't end up with a musical number, because just thinking about it is giving me flashbacks to his fucking Starbomb album. You're then introduced to the villains, who show up flying a ship shaped like a giant comma, because they're called the Syntax. Their goal is helping protagonists win their games so that their planets get destroyed, but we don't find out why until the end of the episode. The boss of the Syntax, Warwick, is voiced by Chris Sabat, who you might know from voicing like half the cast of Dragon Ball, including Vegeta and Piccolo. Whatever you might think of him as a person, he never really delivers a bad performance, and that kind of makes the gap in voice acting skill between him and the rest of the cast a lot more evident. Dude has been doing this for like 30 years, yet he's being put next to people who either aren't actual voice actors or newbies by comparison. Though I have to give props to Elsie Lovelock, because she also killed it whenever her character spoke. It's just a shame that her character really didn't do anything, and she didn't have more interesting dialogue, because so far, nothing even moderately interesting has been said. So, Kit's ship gets shot down by the Syntax, Caboodle falls to the planet, so they go after him with the two Syntax agents we just met in pursuit to help this world's hero win the game and destroy the planet. Kit single-mindedly wants to find Caboodle despite the planet being in danger, but Gobbles questions if their main focus should be on saving the planet, which makes Kit snap at him. She says she can't lose Caboodle like she did the rest of her planet. About here, I was beginning to question if I should even like this character. Now, you are obvious.
Kid should have been like, oh, I'm sorry. Out of habit.
Not supposed to agree with Kit here, but what should be something I can understand due to trauma from her past experiences just comes off as annoying and unreasonable when that trauma has been explored so little beforehand. We don't have a good idea of everything she lost besides the faces of nameless characters, so it's harder to sympathize. I know this is all going to be addressed later in the series, and when it is, it'll probably recontextualize things here and enhance them, but I just feel like if Kit's trauma is going to to be something brought up every 5 minutes. If it's something so central to her character and the show, then her past should have been explored far more before this point. Because right now, the lack of information is hindering my enjoyment. And I think I'm supposed to like Kit already, but I don't, because she just comes off as bland, reckless, and unreasonable. So then the one syntax chick, Misinformation, lands on the planet and changes into a bikini, which made some people extremely angry for some reason, along with getting extremely pissed at the scene of Kit changing outfits. This case specific.
I don't mind the swimsuits. I think, well, no comment. Yeah, I can see their approach somehow. I can see.
Along with getting extremely pissed at this scene of Kit changing outfits. This case specifically is just ridiculous though, because they're in a game based in the ocean. Kit doesn't even have cleavage, and I don't think bikinis in the setting are even inherently sexual either. Unless you're some kind of Muslim who can't help but rape every woman you see unless they're dressed in fucking rags. Also, I don't want to hear some bullshit like, oh, well, why did they have to make it a beach episode unless they wanted fan service? You're not allowed to use in-universe reasons to justify the writer's decision because Dan Olsen told me so after screen capping child porn to epically own 8chan. Well, retard, first you would have to assume that the want for bikinis came first, and not the want for an ocean level. And given how this dolphin character is from Rubber Ross's original Gamerverse series he made in fucking 2009, I'm gonna guess that he just wanted to introduce him as soon as possible, and in a suitable setting that it makes sense for a dolphin. So yeah, if you think this is Gooner bait, you have a porn addiction. Get help. So Kit goes underwater to.
Even though I may or may not see some doujins, this is a little too far, man. You gotta keep yourself checked if that's all you think, right?
Find Caboodle, but Gobbles thinks he sees a shark and follows Kit in to warn her. When he catches up to her, it ends up being the dolphin.
Because for me, even though I like swimsuits and I like how sexy some of the women are, they're not always like porn. They just look sexy. If they don't want to look sexy, they can wear something over it. It's that simple.
And I just mentioned, who's voiced by Aaron Hansen. It sounds really fucking
like Summer Marciana. She looks scandalous, except she's not just scandalous. She's actually very attractive. Not just because of a swimsuit, but because of her attire. The whole attire is that she's wearing a one-piece swimsuit and the penguin onesie. And do not forget the penguin onesie, because that is the charm of her swimsuit variant.
Annoying. It highlights more than Gobbles that Aaron can do voices, it's just the acting part that he struggles with. So the syntax are about to attack them, but they choose not to because the paper guy Fold recognizes Kit and doesn't think they could take her in a fight. Then they realize that Kit and Gobbles made contact with the planet's protagonist, and the art style changes to kind of represent Tails Gets Trolled for a second. A completely unhinged webcomic that I'd honestly think is far too edgy to get referenced in a glitch cartoon. If you want a Tails Gets Trolled video, then tell me in the comment section, because it's on my list of things I want to make a video on, but I'll get to it sooner if there's interest. So the Dolphin Flappers takes Kit and Gobbles into town while Caboodle gets swooped up by this game's villain Snappers, and I'm gonna be honest, I do really like this character design. Plus he's voiced by Michael Cusack, who breathes a lot of life into the character, even with cringe modern indie cartoon dialogue. I also haven't mentioned yet that Caboodle is voiced by Jay Schlatt, mostly because I don't know who Jay Schlatt is outside of this clip where he verbally abuses his beautiful transgendered daughter.
Okay. Get some of that men's soap on your body, because you smell like shit too. And you're a man.
I'm not. I'm not.
Absolutely hateful. I don't know why they would hire such a depraved individual. Acting wise though, he can emote, but he's pretty clearly not actually a voice actor. So Caboodle agrees to train Snappers so he won't lose to Flappers, who we switch perspectives back to as he gets Kit and Gobbles to the town, triggering Kit into having yet another trauma flashback since it reminds her of her own home. Flappers leaves to go back to beating levels in the game world, and Kit goes,
man. Is this a first rodeo? I mean, this. Mm, I don't know why. She is this her entire personality? I think she's more than that, but it feels like that's her whole personality, just panicking, panicking. I think she really needs medical intervention if that's the case. Oh man.
Right back to having another trauma flashback, because she really does seemingly have no personality traits outside of being.
Yeah, like oh dear man. You can keep the trauma, but at least at least I will imagine like she was like a little too into deep, and then she tried to like hug Gobbles at least before she tries to like control herself or hug Gobbles because Gobbles can understand because he's been through the similar things Kid has been through. So maybe he can give her some of his insights. So
Traumatized. There is like literally nothing to her character outside of what you
yeah.
saw in those first 3.5 minutes. And this trauma flashback is a dude asking her if she wants a pizza, which like, I'm not gonna lie, is kind of funny, but it's not supposed to be funny and we're supposed to be taking this seriously. Also, I can't stop the thought scratching at the back of my mind that Gobbles got it way worse than Kit when his planet was destroyed, yet this
Yeah.
isn't happening to him at all. He's actually focusing on the mission despite just
Yeah, I think Kit should be the one who is focused on the mission, and Gobbles should be a little bit traumatized because he looks like a he looks like a child age. So maybe Kit should have been like a mother figure. At least Kit can comfort Gobbles.
recently getting a front row seat to his best friends getting killed and everybody he's ever known dying horribly. I mean, I'm gonna guess there's an implication that Kit had deeper bonds with the people on her planet than Gobbles did on his planet, but you actually have to show me that for me to internalize and understand that while watching. As it stands now, plot-wise, I feel like it would make more sense if Gobbles was the traumatized one who keeps getting flashbacks, and Kit is the one who mostly got over her trauma and is the more competent one when they go on missions. Imagine if the episode started with an extended scene of Gobbles' backstory instead of Kit's. Imagine my proposal in that scenario, and don't you think the narrative would be a lot more cohesive? Doing it the way the show is now just makes Kit look like an incompetent sad sack and Gobbles a psycho for getting over everything so fast. Anyway, for about the third time now, Gobbles notices some things that makes him think Flappers might be the protagonist of this game, but Kit writes him off like a moron before the scene changes to
What?
Flappers
Come
in a
on,
game level,
man.
which despite being a pretty short
Calling a Lunosaurus a moron. Man.
is pretty good. Rubber Ross said in an interview, which despite being a pretty short sequence is pretty good. Rubber Ross said in an interview that he got different video game music composers for this show, and the music in this scene is by the composer of Banjo-Kazooie. He also explained how this game level worked. This enemy is by the composer of Banjo-Kazooie. He's killable through the level gimmick of knocking him over a vent, then turning the knob to make fire come out. Credit where credit is due. That is a lot of attention to detail for such a small scene, and the fact that it takes actual game design into account is genuinely cool. So after that, Fold turns into a piece of paper and makes contact with Flappers to act as a guide in helping him beat the game. Meanwhile, Kit and Gobbles are asking around the town for if anyone has seen Caboodle. One thing that's strikingly noticeable here is how empty and lifeless this town is. I mean, we saw quite a few characters when everyone first got here, but now it seems like a ghost town full of NPCs that aren't really sentient. And are all of the characters in these games actually sentient? It was something I kinda questioned when this pufferfish guy was talking, because yeah, he'd respond to simple questions, but then he'd go right back to talking about soccer, like he was programmed for just that specific purpose.
It's kind of I don't know, man. There is inconsistency here. If so, then Kit's friends And family would have been the same way if this is the case. So annoying.
Can't think of much outside of it. And if that's the case, that these characters aren't truly sentient, if they're really not alive, then why do we give a shit if this planet is destroyed? Now, I'm not saying that every or even any of these simple background characters need a backstory or even more dialogue, but in order for us to care about this, characters need a backstory or even more dialogue. But in order for us to care about this society, you need to show us that it's lived in by people who actually have thoughts and feelings. In Reboot, an obviously huge in by people who actually have thoughts and feelings. In Reboot, an obviously huge influence for this show if you just read the synopsis, there is a very small cast of main characters to focus on all the way synopsis. There is a very small cast of main characters to focus on all the way throughout. But Mainframe, the city the show takes place in, is bustling with activity. Not only is there always movement in the background via vehicles, but the background characters have a real presence. If the main characters are having a conversation, but the background characters have a real presence. If the main characters are having a conversation, it's not uncommon for the camera to shift to how these background sprites react. They even chime in fairly often,
I really like these bots already.
Sometimes with goofy quips, which gives Mainframe itself more of a personality through its odd citizens, and the feeling that normal, everyday people are actually living here, and they're affected by the goings-on just as much as the main characters. There is something here to connect to that makes you want to see it protected and saved. This is the first fully CGI TV show, by the way, where the animators were literally learning how to make the show as they went. They had every excuse to cut corners, but they didn't. They made Mainframe as lively as possible. So surely Gameaverse could do the same thing if they really wanted. It's not just Reboot that Gameaverse is failing to emulate in this instance, though. Jiha Village in the first episode of Gurren Lagann was extremely lively as well, and it was really easy to get an idea of what the average villager was like, along with Simone and Kamina's place in the society. And it was a lot more nuanced than everybody just stating who they were and what they do. There's a scene in this first episode where the gunman first drops into the village, and the first thing you see is a flash cut to a woman in bed awakened by the impact. Literally just a few seconds, and it perfectly illustrates the immediate effects of this situation on the common person. Then you see the villagers running around and panicking, watching what's going on and providing commentary, calling Kamina a moron for trying to fight something 100 times bigger than him. They make the setting come alive. No backstories, no complex character writing, still bursting with personality. Unlike this underwater village in Gameaverse that seems dead by comparison. Sorry for going on such a long tangent, but this show has entire planets at stake. An unknown number of people are fucking dying, and you're expected to care. Why should we care though, when this show is not at all invested in making you give a shit about anyone except the main characters, even though those main characters are greatly affected by the deaths of these background characters? I'm sorry, but it's just bad writing, and it bothers me enough to talk this much about it because, as I just illustrated, it's not that hard a problem. It bothers me enough to talk this much about it because, as I just illustrated, it's not that hard a problem to me enough to talk this much about it because, I'm sorry, but it's just bad writing, and it bothers me enough to talk this much about it because, as I just illustrated, it's not that hard a problem to fix. So then Gobbles and Kit find out through this possible NPC that Flappers actually is the protagonist, or hero I guess I should start saying. It then skips to Flappers beating a boss with Folt's help. Once again, the boss design is taken into account, which is pretty cool. Then Caboodle is still training snappers and finds out he can spit fireballs, which pisses him off. Not really a bad scene. It cuts to Flappers going back into town and showing off the paper who's been helping him through this game. Kit gets suspicious and lunges for it, but Flappers dodges, and Gobbles explains to him that they need the paper but can't explain why. While Kit just bursts out yelling that if Flappers beats the game, then the world is going to explode. This results in the game world freezing and scanning around, trying to find the people interfering with the game. And based on Folt's reaction, this is all happening because the game is trying to delete them. I think this scene is here to show why they can't just quickly go world to world and explain the situation to everyone. And it kind of puts them at a disadvantage against the syntax since they can help the hero win the game with impunity. but Kit's side has to be really careful in going about how they save worlds. It's not a bad plot development, but it is really fucking dumb how Kit is the one who just blurted it out due to being emotionally unstable. This entire episode just keeps making her more and more unlikable, since she's supposed to be the experienced one, but she comes off as negligent, hysterical, and just bad at her job, especially when compared to the newbie she wasn't even going to bring with her.
Remember, Fold called her stronger than him, yet she cannot fend off the Syntax minions. What the hell is going on? It sounds a little inconsistent, ain't it?
It's also kind of dumb how the world just gave up and stopped trying to delete them despite Kit telegraphing their location by accidentally shooting flappers. She also lost the fight, to which Fold remarks that she's shit without Caboodle. In a better show, he'd be wrong, but in this one, I'm not so sure. Kit kinda sucks really fucking bad so far. So when the world unpauses, time rewinds slightly so Flappers didn't hear Kit telling him about the planet exploding, and Fold quickly yells at Flappers to run away because they're trying to steal him. Flappers and the Syntax run away with Kit shooting at them out of frustration before she falls to the ground, and now she cares about the world getting destroyed for the first time in this episode. She basically starts going boo-hoo, it's all my fault, throwing herself a fucking pity party until Gobbles tells her that nothing she ever did is wrong. This is one of the gayest pep talk scenes in anything I've ever seen. I've seen the word therapy speak get thrown around quite a bit, and yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, I've seen lots of glitch shows doing therapy talks, Amazing Digital Circus, Game Overs, and I've never seen Knights of Guinevere doing that, to be honest. Knights of Guinevere, they talk about the princess and all. At least they don't have that much of a therapy space, so okay, I mean, not bad. Not sure about Murder Drones. I should watch Murder Drones. I should really watch Murder Drones because I'm now attracted to Sin. Sin is very cool of a character. Oh my goodness. I can't, man. And it's so sad to say. Sin too. I'm not sure about Uzi, but Uzi's not bad. I think Uzi's a cool girl. She may be an edgy teen, but she's an edgy teen because she's still a teen. I mean, it's understandable. At least it's digestible. I should watch Murder Drones. I'm only at episode 1. I wanted to watch episode 2, so yeah.
This right here is why listing.
But also, we got in therapy speak. I don't know why Miss Digital Circus went from, she's trapped in the world, probably trapped in the world, and then we show the CNA stuff. But why do they not focus? Why don't they focus on the CNA and link Pomni as one of the employees? That's the thing about the debate. If you're not gonna talk about the theory, not talk about the plot, instead just talk about the characters, why show those points about the world building instead of why show the world building if you're not gonna touch it?
During login as a reference pisses me off so much. That show is all about motivational speeches. Cringe motivational speeches that are so over the top and ridiculous that they wrap back around to
Gurren Lagann is about ridiculously cool moments, and it's about that. I think Game of Thrones treats itself a little too serious. I don't know, man.
being cool. Speeches that are so over the top and ridiculous that they wrap back around to being cool. When Simone wasn't able to perform what was expected of him due to getting too inside of his own head, Kamina tracked him down on the battlefield, jumped out of his mech, and punched him in the fucking face to snap him out of it. How do you see "let me see you grit those teeth" and end up making this shit? This ooh-woo wholesome chungus bullshit. Then Gobbles comes up with
I think Gobbles should have at least shake her up to tell her Come on, you're better than this, right?
Extremely simple plan, and Kit was so impressed by it due to her 65 IQ that she started glazing him, being like, "Oh my god, how did you get so strong and brave?" To which he responds that he's a Learnosaurus, so he can adapt, and part of his adaptation was learning from Kit. What a big pile of fucking horseshit. At what point in this entire adventure was Kit a good role model? Name a single fucking time. She fucking sucks ass and wrote Gobbles off at every opportunity when he was right about everything. Characters who act like this do not need someone to enable their neuroticism because they're sad. They need someone to tell them to suck it the fuck up because they're a professional with people's lives at stake. And at this point, the world getting destroyed would be Kit's fault because she was so awful at her job. Like, if she failed while doing her best to save the planet or made some critical mistake in the pursuit of her goal, then that'd be a different story. It wouldn't really be her fault because she's making an honest effort. But her actions so far in this episode have been pure negligence. Like, she knows the syntax are here and that their goal is to have the planet destroyed. I can understand that she's upset that her best friend is missing, but if the whole planet gets destroyed, then he dies.
I'm kind of disappointed about them not fighting on with the syntax first so that they can distract the protagonist. They can fight off the syntax a bit early on. At least stop the syntax from arriving to the game, right?
Too. Even all of this, though, would be forgivable if Kit was actually likable and easier to understand. It's not like selfish and negligent characters that are extremely likable don't exist. To use another series that Ross listed as an influence, Goku let Vegeta live despite coming to destroy the planet and killing his friends because he wanted to fight him again. Then Vegeta goes on to let Cell become perfect out of pure pride. Flawed characters that are doing shit that's just straight up bad for the world they live in, can be done right and be likable, but you need to have an understanding of them. We don't understand Kid whatsoever at this point, and I don't care that understanding of them. We don't understand Kid whatsoever at this point, and I don't care that everything will be explained later because this is just an awful start to the series. Anyway, we then get a montage of Flappers beating bosses and Caboodle training Snappers. I don't have a problem with any of this really. The boss fights still have that design thing going on, and this is probably the most visually appealing part of the episode. Kit and Gobbles find Caboodle in Snapper's lair since their plan was to get to him before Flappers. They have a brief reunion, but then Flappers and the Syntax show up, so they start to brawl. You know, the way Kit was acting about Caboodle made it come off like he was extremely weak on his own, but this scene shows that he's really not. He can fend for himself just fine. Also, Flappers is fighting Snappers and nobody is really trying to stop it or get in their way. They're more focused on beating the Syntax for some reason.
Yeah. At least the villain. I think still the villain. Of course, he may not listen to you, but at least warn him.
Reason instead of viewing them as an obstacle they need to get past. Like, the planet is going to explode if Flappers wins, but they don't seem concerned about it at all for some reason. They don't even try talking to him at all to convince him to stop fighting. At one point, they're literally just standing there while watching Snappers get his ass beat. Gobbles actually isn't even fighting, he's just kind of getting chased around, so you'd think he'd try to follow Flappers around to try to convince him that something bad will happen if he wins, since he's the smart one, but I guess that was just intellectually out of reach for everybody involved. So Flappers beats the game, the Syntax takes Snap back chased around, so you'd think he'd try to follow Flappers around.
Wait. Yeah, why wouldn't... Yeah, why wouldn't Flap... Why wouldn't Gobbles learn how to fight? Like, his adoptive sister, it was Kid Bodega, and she is a Mega Man character. At least either Gobbles learn how to fight to her lens, or Kid teaches him how to fight. He can, if he can learn, if he can learn, he can also learn fighting. Wow, how surprising! Like, you can learn how to fight, even with even with even with those with these critters. At least you can at least kick or fend off those critters. You know, as a Learnosaurus. You know.
to try to convince him that something bad will happen if he wins, since he's the smart one, but I guess that was just intellectually out of reach for everybody involved. So Flappers beats the game, the Syntax takes Snappers and flee the planet, and Flappers questions if it's his fault, to which Kit tells him no, because he thought he was doing the right thing. Now this would have been satisfying character growth for Kit if we actually knew her backstory in detail, and it was a conclusion she came to herself instead of just regurgitating what Gobbles just told her in shorthand mere minutes earlier. Also, she should not be the one reassuring him, because this is all totally her fault this time. So Flappers tries to carry them off the planet, but runs out of energy, so Kit and Caboodle have to combine again like they did at the beginning of the episode, and use their special attack to propel them upwards. It's lame, and I don't know why she didn't transform earlier to deal with the Syntax, because they wouldn't even be in this situation if she used it when it really mattered and got the Syntax out of their way. She couldn't have used it to beat up Flappers, because apparently they're not allowed to physically harm anything in the game, but it'd clear the room to make convincing him easier, which I'm pretty sure is the only way to save the planet at this point, since just betting on Snappers winning is really fucking stupid, especially considering the Syntax admitted that they were watching Caboodle train him the whole time, and taught Flappers how to deal with it. As the main characters escape the planet, we see about 5 seconds of the planet's inhabitants just standing there and staring blankly at the sky. Man, I sure feel bad for them. Flappers then cries looking at his destroyed planet as the Syntax ship rolls up and begins sucking up the remnants of it. Apparently they're harvesting an energy called float, which Warwick explains to Snappers can be used to change the rules of the game of
when the first time I watched it, it's not only a lot, but it felt very unsatisfying.
and bring back quote-unquote everything they lost, which would be an interesting conflict. I mean, as far as we know, Kit's side, the Farcade, doesn't really have much of a solution to the problem of worlds being destroyed once the hero wins. Sure, they can cope with it and maybe stop the win condition, but it doesn't change the rules. They're treating the symptoms but not really curing the underlying disease. While the Syntax think it would be better to destroy some planets to harvest their float to bring them back without the rules that got them destroyed in the first place. Allegedly. It seems like an interesting moral quandary where you could agree with either the heroes or the villains based on your worldview. The problem is that, like, the Syntax agents we've seen so far just seem kind of evil. Like, clearly not all game villains are straight up evil because Snappers disagreed with Warwick and attacked him. So is this crew just composed of the evilest villains who can go around remorselessly blowing up planets and killing anyone who gets in their way? I get that they think they can just bring everyone back, but they seem to take joy in what they do and act needlessly cruel in the process.
Yeah, the behaviors inconsistent.
Am I supposed to believe that a group comprised of people like this has a noble goal at the end of the day? I think this show would benefit a lot if the cartoon villains acted less like cartoon villains, if you're going to make it out like they think they're actually doing the right thing. Because you'd think if they actually believed that, they'd have at least a little bit of remorse in the evil acts they need to carry out. Like, you're trying to write a Lord Genome or Anti-Spiral with the attitude of a Megabyte, and it doesn't really work. So after killing Snappers in cold blood, Misinformation, who I barely mentioned at all because she doesn't do much in this episode, gives Warwick a hologram of Kit and Caboodle so he can see what they look like. He then throws it to the villains that they were fighting at the start of the episode, showing they're still alive. The episode fades to black there, and we get a credit sequence, which looks and sounds pretty nice, so no criticisms there. With that, I think I covered all of my gripes while summarizing the episode. I had a lot of issues with specific scenes, so I figured combing through the episode would be the best way to critique it. Obviously, the thing I had the biggest problem with was Kit, because just to be blunt, your main character fucking sucks, Ross. And that could be
That's
okay
a shame.
if the
I mean, his designs are very good. I think the writing needs some reworking. Oh man.
world treated her like she sucks, or we had a better idea of why she sucks, but she also has like no personality so far. Your dialogue in general is just lacking in personality, and characters are being hard carried by the voice performances, which are really bad in the case of Aaron Transon, who you should just recast now that you got the exposure you wanted via his star power. The thing is, there is the skeleton of a good show in here. The ideas are all things that I should like, but
No, the original Game Overs, Gobbles and Flappers sound better, to be honest.
I don't, because
in my opinion,
a lot of them are just poorly executed. There's actually a character in a video game that has a very similar backstory to Kit. That game is called Xenogears, where the main character, Fei Fong Wong Ching Chong, has a happy life in a peaceful village with found family, friends, and even a love interest. That love interest is kind of a slag since she's supposed to be getting married to someone else the next day, but still wants Fei, but whatever. That wedding never comes because after the initial introductions of everything Fei has to live for, robots called gears have a conflict in the village and begin destroying it. Fei, seeing an empty gear in the middle of the village, enters in an attempt to save everyone, but ends up losing control after seeing a friend shot dead and killing even more people by accident, including his love interest. Much like Kit, Fei accidentally destroys his home. Fei's case is played a bit differently though, because instead of everyone dying, there are still quite a few survivors. Survivors who saw Fei get into the robot and know exactly what he did, resulting in even people who have known him for a long time blaming him for everything, even though he was just trying to help and something else took over. I think if you're going to focus on guilt, trauma, and coming to terms with mistakes that are out of your control, then some challenge should be offered to make the conflict more interesting. We know that Fei did nothing wrong, but the village doesn't, and Fei blames himself because he did get in the robot. And unlike Shinji, he did it all by himself. He wasn't forced in, it was his own choice. After being berated and blamed, the one guy in the village who doesn't hate him tells him to go into the Forest of Death from Naruto, where he meets a woman who he doesn't know participated in the conflict that destroyed the village. She has an immense amount of guilt about it as well, especially after meeting a survivor in Fei, but not being able to cope, she also places all of the blame on Fei, clearly projecting in an attempt to make herself feel better, telling him that he shouldn't even have gotten into the robot. This results in Fei having a proper mental breakdown. A mental breakdown that actually felt deserved, since you saw his story from the very beginning from his perspective, and can imagine how awful the words being said to him must have felt. Also, then that extremely serious and emotional scene is completely fucking ruined by a giant dinosaur showing up. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Fei's internal conflict that lasts the entire game is much more sympathetic. You can understand his mindset and how he can feel all of the guilt and trauma that he does at this point. And it's not just an internal thing. He doesn't just have to overcome being in his own head too much. He needs to overcome people involved telling him that it's his fault. Kit doesn't have an interesting conflict regarding her trauma. That's the point I was supposed to be making. We don't have a good idea of everything she lost other than a couple nameless people she keeps remembering during her episodes. Nobody is blaming her for it besides herself. She has a support system to help her get over it, and she even has a way of making things right and doing her job and making sure it doesn't happen to other people. A job she fails at consistently, it seems. So does she really care about anyone else? Her outbursts and constant trauma flashbacks really just don't feel justified. They end up coming off as extremely selfish given the context. Like I said earlier, if everyone was already established and this was a later episode, then it might be better given the context, but not gonna lie, it'd still be pretty fucking annoying since seemingly everything gives her an episode. I'm sorry, but I just don't feel bad. I think she sucks and I don't care. Her guilt needs more purpose and it needs more conflict. And if you don't want to add more conflict, then add more purpose, since obviously not everyone who accidentally destroyed their home needs someone yelling at them that it's their own fault. Most of the main characters in One Piece have a backstory where they accidentally caused or helped in causing the death of people or the home they care about, and they didn't always need someone blaming them for it, but it worked. It worked because they were executed so perfectly, and there was such tragedy that you didn't really want to see them blamed for it. Though though they most likely were in most cases, I honestly don't remember, since I've been watching One Piece forever, and it's hard to remember much earlier parts in the series in detail. Anyways, make us feel their sense of loss. If you can make me cry like a bitch like some of those Straw Hat backstories did, then you can mostly have Kit acting however the fuck you want afterwards. Okay, so at this point, this script is 28 fucking pages long, so let me wrap it up. Gameaverse was rejected over and over because it sucks. It doesn't suck because the ideas are bad or even executed poorly. It's bad because you don't know if you're trying to make a goofy video game show or a dark character drama, and the character writing is absolute shit that can't justify its own existence. It's everything wrong with modern internet animation, in that it's so sanitized, safe, and trying harder than anything else I've ever seen to be wholesome. Yet despite that, it still manages to piss people off who
I just don't like too wholesome, man. Maybe I just don't like too much of a wholesome chungus kind of thing. Maybe because I've seen a lot of stuff where people be like, "Oh, I'm so wholesome," but at the same time, they screw up and end up doing more damage. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. So
become enraged at the sight of anything their porn-addled brains deem to be even moderately sexual, even if it isn't when the context is taken into account. And honestly, if people are just going to cancel you no matter what you do, then you might as well just go buck wild and throw some N-words in there. This therapy speak, this complete lack of crass behavior and everything is
yeah.
why everyone is so gay and pussified now. They have no tolerance for it because shows like this are allergic to doing anything to press the envelope at the risk of offending people. Almost 15 years ago, Johnny Utah made an animation called American Pokemon that was just one big, extremely offensive cancer joke, with a cancer kid stabbing himself in the tumor and it exploding while he dies, while his dad watches the whole thing on TV crying. It has a fuck ton of dislikes and negative comments to this day, and there's no way Jeff didn't know what he was making would get an extremely poor reception, but he made it anyway because he personally thought it was funny. I think we need more of that. But not in the case of shows that get pitched to networks a million times just to keep getting rejected despite being safe enough for them because they're just bad. If shows like Gameaverse keep getting produced, then the current safe edgy is going to become the new edgy. Standards for writing will plummet, and the whole universe safe edgy is going to become the new edgy.
I don't like
Standards
safe
for writing
edgy.
will plummet,
Just-
and the whole universe
just
is going
be-
to die.
just
Also,
be as
if you
fast
thought
as
at
you
any
want,
point in
okay?
this video that I should shut the fuck
Yeah.
up because I couldn't do a better job, then put your money where your mouth is and become a channel member. Watch my other videos, subscribe, comment, and all that other shit, because I promise you that I can. And once I've raised the funds for it, you are absolutely going to start seeing cartoons from me. So give me your fucking money. It won't go to Israel. I'm done with that Israel bit for now, but yeah, this is the end of the video. I want to give a extra special thanks to all of my channel members. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate the support. A good chunk.
Thank you, thank you, Choco Bro. Thank you, Mr. Choco Bro, for the video. And what a fatigue from watching almost an hour of video. But it's okay. Thank you. Very nice, very good video. I think. Okay, baby tropes. Let's see.
If you clicked on this video, you're probably already asking yourselves, what the hell is the trauma baby trope or the trauma bully trope? And I am not going to waste no time explaining this because I hate the freaking long ass intros that most YouTubers do. The trauma baby or the trauma bully trope is a trope that I have discussed as a
Yeah, like I only seen a few like stolers. Now Jets. I don't understand why Jets is supposed to be the self-insert trans and also the one we should be feeling bad for. Sure, he may not be as bad, but now he's just as bad. Why should we care about him and his trauma? Why should we feel sad about him? I don't understand. For me, I just don't understand. Anyway, and also, Boy Girl Gets Kid, at least even though uh, he doesn't show that he doesn't really want to hurt Deku. He just put aggressive, he just puts an aggressive face. But at least he learned, but at least he learned how to grow a pair. Even though it's not very obvious whether he cares or not, or whether he's softened, but it's but at least he ain't a pussy. He not gonna lie, he learns how to not be an asshole at least.
Fan-made term that I literally just invented right now, where essentially
And this I see why people like Bakugo, right?
the trope that I like to call when certain characters and certain pieces of
And yeah, yeah. And also, even though the reasons might bullshit, but at least he cared about Deku because Deku helped him. And it's not like and he was a bully because he thought he was a superior, but in the end, because he was saved by Deku, um, he had to like deal with the fact that he isn't the only powerful one in this relationship. So
media tend to be asshole characters or be very mean to other characters or act a certain way, mainly due to insecurities or literally just act like assholes because their trauma somehow gives.
yeah, I don't think Bakugo has any trauma, but the trauma that but he eventually learns that Deku is more than just a punching bag that he could deal with, and he did. Slowly, eventually, he learned that Deku isn't as bad as he thought. So
The trauma is the main reason for why they act a certain way. And the story tries to make you feel sympathetic for them, like, oh my gosh, his friends died.
Even Enji Todoroki, the endeavor hero, he was a jackass. Not just he wasn't really an abusive father. His children thought he was abusive, hated him because he couldn't work things out, especially with his first son Toya. With their first son Toya, and the children only saw him as the bastard dad, but Inji Todoroki had to keep Toya in control because Toya was very unstable. And it ended up making the family fall a little bit apart. Yeah, the family fell apart for a while. And Ray, the mother, had been mentally unstable because it was that chaotic in the family early on. But later on, in the current time, the even though Inji didn't meet his mistakes, and he didn't really want anyone to forgive him, but Ray did forgive him anyway. His wife did forgive him anyway because she understands the situation. She's still hurt, just like the rest of the family. But everybody understands why they had to come together and stop Darby. Yeah.
And oh my goodness, that's why he's such a mean person. The main issue with this is that it usually feels very heavy-handed, like the author or the
Like, even though in the early episodes, even though he looks like an asshole, but I see it as like the dad who wanted to show off his son's capabilities, even though he understands that his son didn't like him that much. Yeah.
creator of a series or show
And
is trying really hard, holding a sign above the head of the character, like, guys, please feel bad for me, please. I am just a sweet, innocent character. I'm just a little guy.
This one is just cringe.
Is totally fine, and I
Yeah.
totally should feel bad for me.
Like, giving excuses for doing bad things, that's not good, right? What NG had, he he couldn't deal with Toya alone. He needed uh, he needed to admit his mistakes if he wanted to stop Dobby with his if he wanted to stop Dobby together. So
because bad things happen to me. So I'm just gonna be an
yeah.
asshole because I have trauma. But I know this is gonna cause a bigger question for you all. But Seb, why do you call them the trauma baby or the trauma bully? Well, mainly because every time you try to give criticism for these characters,
Yeah.
people will come up to you and say and try to baby the character and say,
yeah, I don't mind the trans stuff, but why all of a sudden shove it in? I don't see why Jazz is trans. Other than just being a self-insert, I'm like, if Jazz is your self-insert, what kind of person are you? Are you the bad person? Is this some sort of projection? No, man.
or you just don't understand their character. That's they're traumatized, so that's why they do a certain thing.
Bullshit.
So basically, they're just babying the character and trying to justify why they're being a terrible human being.
Do not justify these kind of characters. Even though the author tries to justify them, do not. Because criticism is not just about telling you why the character is the way it is. I don't know, man. Do not babyfy your characters. Do not treat your characters like a baby just because they did bad things. Whether you have to acknowledge their faults and all. If you still want people to sympathize for them, at least admit their faults. At least make them admit their faults, and make them try to reconcile from those mistakes, right?
And being such a jerk to other characters or just acting a very dumb way. Essentially babying them. And don't get me wrong, you are allowed to do asshole characters in the story. It's perfectly fine. But you can't have it in a way of where you are seemingly justifying all their actions for being an asshole and expecting everyone to be like, oh yeah, we're cool with that, I guess. Because most of the time when it's used on characters that are either one that it comes off as one note, or that's literally all they do is just they're an asshole and that's their whole character. Literally, this is the reason why a character like Jax isn't appealing to me, is because the fact that is literally all Jax does, is that his whole gimmick is that he is an asshole to everybody and that he is mean to everybody, and that's all he does. That is literally his whole character in the Amazing Digital Circus, is that he is an asshole.
I don't know, man. Everybody, including Pomni, is one-sided. Rather the nice one, the King of Crazy one, Gangle the sad one, Zubal the angry one, the Jats the Zubal, Gangle, Kinger, Ragazat, Chats, and Pomni. Goth was just the panic, the Joker. Pomni is the, I don't know about Kaufmo a little bit. Anyway, I didn't watch episode 9. I don't want to bother it anyway. Anyway, and then Pomni is the hero. Nothing else. I feel like it's one-dimensional. Even though they try to make it make it more than that, they don't change. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like they change.
Because his two friends died. And that is it. But the problem with this, and why I don't like the trauma baby trope, is that you can't do the trauma baby trope when there are characters that have suffered worse than the character that is the trauma baby. Literally, in the same show, we have Kinger, who lost his wife, was one of the first people involved in the digital circus, watched almost everyone that he knew literally lost his wife.
Yeah, Kinger has more trauma than Jats, but why is Jats the Nepo baby?
Got literal brain damage.
Damn, I call it. Maybe Jats is the Nepo baby. I don't know.
Then you have a character like Ragatha, who also was in the circus longer than Jax, and then lost more people than Jax probably did. And they are not asshole characters. I know Kinger has amnesia and has brain problems because of Kane, but let's not talk about that. That's not relevant. But the show tries so hard to make you feel bad for Jax, like, oh my gosh, Jax lost 2 friends. And then in the same show, in the same episode, say that reveal that Kinger has lost tons of other people, more than Jax, and Ragatha too. And you're expecting me to be like, oh yeah. And these characters aren't assholes. So the justification falls flat because it just makes Jax seem like a fucking baby. Or you have a character like Bakugo, who literally told Deku to off himself on the first episode, and literally just hates Deku because he is quirkless and he thinks he's better than Deku. And the problem with it, and he is insecure, so that's why he is such an asshole. But then you see other characters who had way worse life than Bakugo not act like assholes, so it just comes off as Bakugo being a fucking baby. And before you say, and yes, I am aware that Bakugo gets better throughout the story and gets a redemption, because unlike the Amazing Digital Circus, Bakugo had like over 7 seasons to get better. But my main issue with Bakugo is the fact that when you try to criticize the character how Bakugo used to act, people will justify it with like, oh, he's just a kid. He didn't know any better. He was insecure. Okay, cool. That still doesn't justify. You're still an asshole.
In fact, just this is not about the comment that he's just kid. He's just an asshole. Doesn't justify the fact that he's an asshole. Cause he's just an asshole. That's it. As he grows up, he will learn how to not be an asshole. And I'm not saying that he's justified for being an asshole, cause he was still a jerk back then. Yeah.
Sad backstory, still murder. What do you want me to say to that? Just because you have a sad backstory doesn't justify everything.
Yes.
Because keep in mind, in this same series, we have a character like Shoji, who literally was abused for how he looked, and he didn't become a bad human being who screamed
because yes, Bakugo is an asshole, but he is not.
Die to everyone 15 billion times, and that's all he says in the first couple seasons of the show, because that's all Bakugo does. Or maybe Todoroki, a character who literally got scarred for life and was abused by his father. And I am supposed to feel bad for Bakugo? Like, huh? Like, Bakugo was just being an asshole. What do you want me to say? You can't baby him, because literally his actions don't make sense when you compare it to other characters.
If I saw Bakugo the first time, I would have just point the gun at his head and ask him if he was to say die again. Maybe you will actually die. Would you like that? Nah, that's just my first impression. But apparently, my first impression of him is not too bad. Even though he was a bit of a prick, but at least he learned not to. Even though he's putting up the front that he's such an asshole, but eventually he learns not to be an asshole. Even though he still has the rough attitude, but at least he softened a bit.
Because other characters have suffered worse. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Bakugo is a bad character.
And I'm not saying that he's not a bad he's not like a jerk. He still acts like a jerk. Yeah. But why Deku still want to help him? Well, Deku is Deku. But if Bakugo decides to just villainize him again, then maybe Deku would have just left him alone. Well, whatever plot point it is, but he decides to help Bakugo anyway, because he didn't want anyone to turn to villain just because of bad actions, just because of one bad thing. I guess Deku learns it like that, because he's seen Shigaraki and how he turned out to be. So maybe Bakugo learned that the hard way, not because he's been just put justice by Deku, but even though Deku did pawn him, but But at least Bakugo has consequences.
Also criticizing a lot of people that defend My Hero Academia and
Yeah,
Bakugo as
you
a character.
cannot baby him just because he did the one good thing. He still can be an asshole. At the same time, you can try. At the same time, he can be good if he wants. That's the thing. He has good parents. Doesn't make him less of an asshole if he decides to become an asshole. It's his choice.
Because you are allowed to make asshole characters, you just can't be going around trying to justify everything they did and pretend that you did nothing wrong. It's literally my issue with people that try to justify Dobby becoming a villain. When, no, he became a villain, he had issues.
Dobby was an asshole. And a totally different asshole from Bakugo. I think he's even worse than Tomo Shigaraki. At least I don't know, man. It seems that Shigaraki never wanted to kill his family, but not only he was discriminated by his father, but his power came out of control that he had to kill his whole family, and he was so lost that his only salvation was all for one. So I need to look back at My Hero Academia. And also, Darby, on the other hand, actively tried to kill his baby brother. Say derogatory things about his mother, and even wanted to kill his father just because his dad wouldn't want to look at him being too out of shape. Sure, Endeavor is not a very good parent, but Darby is way worse. Even way worse than Shigaraki himself. I don't know, man. That's my opinion.
Don't know why you guys are acting like he didn't. Like I said, he still became a villain. There was many other outlets he could have done, but he just decided to become a villain. I don't know what to tell you. That's a whole different video. Or we could talk about a character like Stolas from Hell of a Boss, for example. Where
Stolas.
The show tries so damn hard for you to feel bad for Stolas. It makes feel like Stolas is the victim in this whole in every situation. When in reality, the show bends over backwards, gets booty effed by the creators of the show, just to rewrite what literally happens in the show so that they can say that Stolas was fine when that did not happen. And I do not get why people try so damn hard to justify Stolas as a character, because boy oh boy, he is just an asshole that being an asshole in the show, and they tried to baby him so freaking hard when most of the stuff that he does in the show is not true.
Not only a terrible father, but he's a pompous prince. He's so pompous that he'll cry to get what he wants. That's why I'm seeing.
True, he's overreacting, or he's just straight up lying to you, and the story is acting like he is right. And I'm not even gonna talk about this too much, because it is utterly ridiculous how this show tries so hard to make Stolas seem like a victim when he is the person that has the most power in almost every situation with Blitz. But whatever, this isn't this kind of video. And now let's talk about the trauma baby trope or the trauma bully trope done right. And my biggest example that I can provide of the best use of this character trope is House MD, the main character, House. If you've seen any clip of House, you know how much of an asshole this guy is. And by the way, House has a reason for why he's doing it, but the show doesn't try to justify House being a dick or an asshole.
I used to hate him because of his demeanor, but you know what? He is meant to be that way. Because because of not just because of his experience as a doctor, but he also deals with some assholes who intentionally make his job harder. So
to people acknowledge that House is an asshole. The show acknowledges that House is an asshole, but he is charismatic and entertaining, and that is not his only character trait. Like, if I'm watching it up, like, literally, I can predict most of
He's
Jack's.
one of the assholes where, sure, he's very sarcastic. He's very sarcastic. But when things get serious, he actually laughs in because he has to do what he has to do. Uh, he can't just be an asshole. He can't just be an asshole all the time, you know. Sometimes he's not just an asshole. He's only an asshole because he's dealt with some stupid moments. But if there's something serious, he lots in because he lots in.
Dialogue in almost most of the Amazing Digital Circus is literally just haha, Ragatha, kill yourself, ha ha ha, Pomni can die, ha ha ha, Gangle, strangle yourself and hang yourself, Lamau, XOXO, cringe face, Lamau, or Bakugo in like the early seasons of My Hero Academia is just screaming die 50% of the time. And then you have House, who is actually a charismatic, entertaining character whose whole personality, while is being an asshole, he is actually entertaining to watch and is actually funny. And his whole gimmick is that while he is an asshole, but he does other stuff and that he's not actually a terrible person. But compared to a character like Jax, whose literally whole gimmick is just to being an asshole to everyone else, and that is that makes Jax so one-dimensional. It makes him such a simple character when everyone tries to make Jax into this seemingly multi-layered character because he has trauma to explain it. And the funny part is, House has trauma. House is a character that has issues, and the show does dive into it. But the show never goes so far to say, oh, how it's okay for House to be an asshole because of what he went through. No, it is not a justification. It's an explanation, which is what the trauma baby trope should be. It should be a way that that asshole character is the reasoning why they're the way they are, but is not the justification for why they are the way they are. The show doesn't make it seem like the House is, it's okay for House to be a terrible person and mean to everyone that he talks to. No, the show acknowledges this and even calls House out for it multiple times in almost every episode. But in other shows that I mentioned before, they make that the whole gimmick of the character, and that's all they are, and they're not entertaining or funny because that's all they do. You can predict what they're gonna do and make it very uninteresting. House is entertaining. Jax, his whole gimmick is literally just I want to kill everyone else. Lamau, XD, ha ha ha. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the trauma baby.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay.
Wow, what an amazing dream. Tamara and I were making out, giggling and kissing like a couple of high school kids at Lover's Lane. But I can't remember how it ended. Did you have that before?
No.
Why didn't you wake me?
I thought you were awake.
Wow, what an amazing...
Oh no. Okay, let's listen.
Again. Oh yes. Get snuck upon. Climbing. Crisscross applesauce. Am I not wanted?
Don't give me those eyes.
Giggle, I am so naughty. The flesh demands invitation.
We'll ask Tessa, okay? If not, movie night.
Sheepish nod. Shuffle, 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 shuffle.
Weston!
Seems Jay forgot to let me out of my basement timeout again. Annoyed expression. They are not broken. We can no longer be thrown out.
If that little butler dies for your sake, I swear!
I have backups. Son of a... Come on. Solver of the absolute fabric. Get a grip. Tantrum. Brain blast. OV. Could use some help in here. Grab it. Just grab it. Grab it. Intimidating glare.
Whoa!
Cute. False. Gross. True. Let's just delete your OSs then. Goodbye, buddy. Thanks for the new host, intern. MacGuffin.
You know, you're one of the main reasons I wanted your team to retain your personalities. You always surprised me.
Loved doing anything. Thanks for clearing the way on this planet too. Let's eat. It's really sweet, big brother. Dropped this. Silly. Hello, Uzi. Hi, Ann. I see. You will not talk to me because I have hurt your feelings. Okay, okay. You first, eager beaver. Let me in, 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 let me in. Lick. Squirmy worm. God fucked it. I will. Boring. And annoying. You look great. Have you considered a bow, though?
Oof, Bertrons. Okay, I think I think it's time for me to end stream. Woo, that was so good. Anyways, I'm gonna stop streaming. See ya.